Trump, whose parents paid him his way into, a C student that got into the top business school in America. And we see it now. He can barely read, all right. But the other part of Dolan's neuroses is in his business life, he's inherited businesses that are just going to make money. In Cablevision, Optimum, there's only two competitors. The competitors agreed to really not compete. They section off whole sections of New York. And so there's no way, like he could be the worst CEO ever. There's no way to mess up owning a cable company. And then people say, but he does well with the Rangers. No, he doesn't do that well with the Rangers because the Rangers should be the winning multiple Stanley Cups because they have every single advantage. They have the story of the Rangers. And so for him, these sports teams are ways for him to show that he's smart, that he can do something. His own, born on third base and thought he hit a triple as someone who just inherited or won the genetics Olympics. And he wants to show he can do it. And so much of his legacy and who he is he wants to show people that he could do it with his guys and his way. And that's killing the Knicks because he doesn't know. He really, truthfully, he's never had to build anything from the beginning, from the rubble of it and grow it. And I think that's a major challenge and that's why, similarly to someone like, George W. Bush, when he became president, he basically became president on name recognition. And on top of that, when he hired the people around him, he basically hired Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, all these guys that basically worked for his dad.
Yeah.
And Dolan is doing the same thing, and that's where he's comfortable with his guys. Like, if I bring in a David Griffin or if I bring in a Masai Ujiri, those guys are going to try to tell me what to do. Nobody tells me what to do. And so that's why you keep having these processes where not much thought, not much preparation, not much discipline is taken into putting this key role into the biggest franchise in the world. The Knicks are the most valuable NBA franchise strictly because of where they are and their history and having that market to themselves for such a long time. So I think the process was flawed, but Robert, you tell me something positive about this hire. What could we look forward to about Leon Rose as president of the Knicks basketball operations?
Well, I think that because Rose is in this capacity for the first time in his life, he obviously wants to do very well. I think that he knows a lot of people who are very smart and know a lot about basketball. So if he uses his acumen and his network to the advantage of the franchise, something can come good out of it. And we should not forget that a management structure is not always one guy. I mean, it was Mills and Perry who were always in front of the microphone if they decided or were allowed to speak. But there are numerous other people in the background who do like the everyday work that is important to run an NBA team, to understand the numbers, the cap space, the players, the scouting, and everything else. So it's not just Leon Rose who sits in a corner office at Penn Station and makes the decision. So I hope that he uses his network, he leverages the people that he knows, and that something good will come out of it. Plus, he is a business guy. I think he understands the league very well, and he understands that the Knicks, the way they are run right now, that this didn't work, apparently. But where I am skeptical, Eve, is I keep thinking about that the Knicks are trying to build a house on a soil that is not made for this house because the foundation is not healthy. There were reports over the last several years, whether it was Phil Jackson or now Mills and Perry, that the way the organization is being run when it comes to the team, the players, is not top-notch.
Right.
So I was one who was very furious about the Kristaps Porzingis deal because I saw Porzingis as the future of the franchise. Whether he is a superstar or not can be debated very in length, and I'm open for it. But he was a personality. He was a player that you could identify with. He was special, and he would have been able to at least bring one other really interesting young player to the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
But they traded him, and in the aftermath of the trade, I keep remembering one podcast from Woj that he did. I think it was with Ramona Shelburne, where they talked about the whole Knicks mess and the structure internally, where he said that Porzingis came to New York with stars in his eyes,
mm-hmm.
with like an open mouth and just appreciation of the city and everything around it. And I interviewed Porzingis when he was in Berlin for 2 hours. We hung out. And he told me that the reality of New York was very different because he needed to live in Tarrytown and not in New York City. That changed in his second year. But a lot of the allure of the franchise is just everything that you see in front of the curtain. If you pull it away and you look behind, there are a lot of things that are not really top-notch about a franchise that, as you say, rightfully so, is the most expensive franchise in the league. Mm-hmm. They're not top-notch when it comes to their training facilities. They're not top-notch when it comes to the availabilities of trainers for the players. Porzingis wanted to go to the gym and work out, and there were not even trainers. There weren't even jerseys or basketballs laying out in the gym in order to be able to train. And this is something that is fundamental to an organization. And if we talk about a person who's really rich and we talk about an organization that can, outside of cap space, basically afford everything that you want, that something like that is happening and that you are not 100% organized, that you're willing to be the best organization that you can be, it's mind-boggling. And it shows that there are the wrong people inside the franchise that make the decisions. And as long as these people are there, you can hire Leon Rose, you can hire Phil Jackson, you can hire even Masai Ujiri, because we remember with Phil, he came in and he had a guarantee from Dolan mm-hmm. of independence, and it didn't happen. He couldn't even hire his own trainers and doctors
Mills,
to take care of the players.
He didn't know Mills or any of those guys.
Yeah.
They basically were like, well, here's your guys. And then the shame of it was that no one wrote, how was Phil Jackson independent when he has to work with a GM in Mills that he didn't choose, that he didn't even know before? It's a joke.
And somebody who wasn't really good at his job, because Steve Mills was never a general manager. Right. He was a business guy. He was a suit. And as president of basketball operations, he might have been more suited, but as a general manager, he was a failure. And Phil Jackson didn't have any experience in terms of his new role and his position. Right. So they were doomed right from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. I want to end this podcast, and because the mistake people think is that they think that I want to just talk bad about the Knicks, and I really don't. I want positive things to say, and I'll say this: you can't get much bigger in sports than CAA, and getting the head guy at CAA, he even hired most of the agents that are player agents other places. So the Knicks network will get better. But like you said, the facilities is something that I laugh about all the time. I'm like, why are they in upstate New York? It makes zero sense that you're the biggest. If I'm the Knicks, I'm training in the Empire State Building. You know what I mean? I'm taking 2 floors out of out of Hudson Yards or something like that. Like
yes,
and
yes.
and the Nets in Industry City just shows the opposite view of it. And Sean Marks installed a hell of a team. Let's see what this guy does. Let's see if they can help themselves. And I'm going to be positive only because it's the last thing left to do. It's the last thing left to do. We've got 4 minutes left in this pod. Tell me something we should be looking out for with the Knicks.
Well, objectively speaking, I mean, RJ Barrett is just a revelation this season, and I'm on record now saying that I was wrong about him. I watched a lot of tape. I watched Summer League, and in preparation of the draft, I even floated the idea of trading the third pick for 2 other picks and try to get 2 young people to New York instead of just 1, because I was convinced that RJ Barrett is the right guy. Mm-hmm. I listened to podcasts that talked about his skill set and everything, and then I watched Summer League, and I was shocked. And I thought, this is just a modern version of Ron Artest. It reminds me of Ron Artest, a very bully kind of swingman who does a little bit of the ball handling, but who's not very athletic, and who is not the savior that the Knicks are looking for. Well, fast forward to right now, and we see that he's amongst the best players in his class. I would say that alongside Zion and Ja Morant, like these 3 are really exciting young players in this league and not just in the draft class. And I think he showed that he already has the character and the persona to survive in New York and even survive the Knicks, which is the most important thing. I think that RJ Barrett needs to be stronger than the New York Knicks franchise. If he is that, then he can turn them around. And he can grow separately from what the franchise is offering, which is important. So he is just a ray of light.
Does he break the Charlie Ward curse? Will he be the first Knick to get a second contract?
Oh, that's very interesting. I think that the Knicks want to keep him.
We have a long ways to go with him too.
Yeah, but the thing that my friend Max, who recently abandoned ship and became a Dallas Mavericks fan. He is fed up with the Knicks, so he stopped being a fan after 25 or 30 years. But we talked about RJ and saying that if this still goes south, he might try to get out of his rookie deal by saying, I won't sign an extension. You have to give me a player option, or you have to give me the qualifying offer, so to speak, in the 4th year, and then I will be a free agent. This could very well happen. It's unrealistic, so I think that the Knicks want to keep him and they want to give him the extension, and I think that he is the kind of character that he wants to stay and want to make things better and improve and wants to be the franchise guy. So I think he can break the spell. I think he can be the first guy after Charlie Ward who gets an extension. But yeah, everything else is kind of in flux right now, especially with the new guy coming in.
I want to ask you about the trade. So I'm going to make this a 2-part pod. Let's take a quick break and let's come back and let's talk about the trades the Knicks did make and how that's going to influence their future. All right?
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're going to come back and finish this out.